Okay. Well, this is the beginning of the oh fuck, I'm not going to be able to come up with the money to rebuild this thing. But I'm down to only having a Ranger and or this back together. So this is a at home honed out a cylinder that should have been sleeved. Uh, Reusing main bolts, head bolts, most of the gaskets because they were good from replacing parts before. Uh, Buying a single piston from a salvage yard thing in Phoenix, changing out the connecting rod with the other piston that demolished itself inside the cylinder. Uh, Flipping the connecting rod bearings because the wear side is definitely the top side of the connecting rod bearings. So that should give me about, twice as much life out of them since they're starting to show copper on the top. Well, connecting rod bearings don't have a top or bottom, so I'm going to flip them. Couldn't do that with the main bearings. They were a little pocked or pitted. There's evidence of just a couple of very small pieces of debris that got shot through the oiling system. A couple on the main and a couple on the rod bearings. However, nothing very severe that like would snag on the journals of the crank or anything. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, so basically the only thing I'm going to buy rebuilding this, I'm reusing the piston rings, rod bearings, main bearings, which to anybody else should have been replaced. To me, they should have been replaced. I just literally can't do it. What else? Oh yeah, injector O-rings. I'll be reusing those. Of course, the valve cover gasket and under valve cover harnesses. They're brand new. A lot of the stuff I have for this thing is brand new. However, that's when I still had a little bit of money coming in and, 8 cylinders. Let's see what else. So yeah, but that's basically it. I'm reusing bearings. Got a new piston because the one that pinched the ring, number 7, and gouged the cylinder. It distorted the piston and crammed a bunch of the piston ring in the top of the piston. And the ring lands are not uniform on it anymore. I'm pretty sure it's like an oblong shape. So I wasn't willing to reuse this piston just for the simple fact of, well, right here, shit like that right there. Goes right down into the ring land. I may have actually reused it if it didn't do that, but it did do that. It's aluminum, it got hot. Yeah, see, look, that goes from the first to the second ring, almost. It's just not the right shape anymore. So anyway, I got a used one from a place called Turbo Auto Diesel down in Phoenix. And let's see, which one is it? I believe it is the one that's in here. Here it is, mostly cleaned up because, like I said, I've got literally no money going into this rebuild. I think I paid $40 for the piston, and then I had to drive from Kingman to Phoenix, which is substantial, to get the fucking piston, and then well, clean it up and everything. So as you can tell, it's in a lot better shape. I did change out the connecting rod though from the other piston. Which I'm glad I did, because it turns out the wrist pin is a little bit different outer diameter, and then the connecting rod bearing up on the small end is a different inner diameter, which means almost definitely they weighed something different, whether it be reciprocating weight or rotating weight or static weight, or it was in a different place than on the other one. I'm not sure, but I guarantee something was different about the weight and then in turn the balancing of that particular piston. So it's just using the piston itself and the old connecting rod. I do believe that'll at least get me somewhere near the balance that I need. I mean, I'm already kind of in a up shit creek without a paddle, because this is a non-balance hole crankshaft, where they don't put a balancing hole through the connecting rod journals or counterbalances or whatever you want. Well, the journals. Yeah, there's a hole that goes through the journal on the crankshaft of the earlier crankshafts, which use the forged steel connecting rods, which these are. But that crankshaft is not one of the counterbalance drilled crankshaft. It is a solid connecting rod journal crankshaft, which is balanced differently, and it's supposed to have powdered metal rods. So that may actually be what happened to this thing in the first place. It's the fact that the connecting rods are not the ones that are supposed to be with this crankshaft. However, it didn't vibrate anything god awful terrible. I'd rather have forged steel than powdered metal rods any day. So it's going back together. So basically, this is not really a social experiment, but this is an experiment of I understand mostly the ins and outs, or the subtleties in the sciences of engines and how they work. I do know how to do things properly. I can and I have, but I also don't have the resources to do it properly. So with a little bit of brain power, hopefully, and just a little bit of luck, and a couple of dollars, maybe I can get this thing back together and get a few more thousand miles out of it. It only had 226,000. When I pulled it apart, it was still running actually with this piston on number 7 with no ring on the top and a big ass gouge in the side of the cylinder. And the funny thing is that was number 7, and I had a shop tell me that I had low contribution on number 8. Fucking weird. Anyway, I'm gonna get these pistons cleaned up, and then one by one I'll install them into the crank, or into the block on the crank. And while I do each one, I'm going to flip the bearings, but I need to get all these ring lands cleared out so I know the piston rings will spin while it's running. And let's see. Well, basically that's it. I am willpower over monetary clout rebuilding this motherfucker. Yeah, oh, and as far as the honing, I rented a couple of 3-stone hones, ridge reamer, well, not a ridge reamer, cylinder hones for deglazing the cylinders, and I used both of them. They were no longer any good by the time I was done. I deglazed all the driver's side and then fucking honed number 7 out like I was boring it. There's still a little hiccup on the side where it could blow by a little bit, but it's way up at the top top of the ring throws. Which honestly, that's probably the worst place it could be, now that I think about it. Down on the bottom, it wouldn't have as much cylinder pressure. Up at the top is where it'd be compressing and firing and everything, so that's probably the worst spot it could be. However, it's not a deep gouge all the way down the side of the cylinder anymore, and it's not a big fucking bypass for the cylinder pressure gases to escape down into the crankcase or anything. Very, very smooth, or as smooth as it can be for what I had done. It should have been bored out and sleeved, but I honed it out with a drill and a fucking home honing kit, and to the best I could, enough to where it won't catch the rings, you know what I mean? Like, that's my biggest thing. I just wanted it to be smooth so where it doesn't grab a piston ring and try to tear it out of the piston and then cause the same problem all over again. Which I think should be okay, seeing as this is an E99 and it's the low boost version of the 7.3 direct injection turbo diesel. Super Duty, that is. They're not too much different than just the straight Power Strokes. Well, actually, they're higher boost than the up to 97 Power Strokes. However, lower boost than the late 99s. So, hopefully, that'll save my ass. Just getting lucky.